fire. Praise God. Hey, Morgana, come here. Morgana, come here. Tomorrow, Morgana will turn 18. Is that right? Wish Morgana a happy birthday, if you would, please. 18 years old. And I think that it'd be very appropriate to brag on Morgana. What a dynamic woman of God that she is, and we're so grateful to her. And this church has just been tremendously blessed because of you. And some of you know that the beginnings of her life were not easy, but I can tell you it's not how you start, it's what you do with it, and then how you finish. Amen? And I'm telling you, you just need to keep praying for Morgana. Her future is so bright. Getting ready to go to college. A year from now, you'll be a freshman in college. Amazing, isn't it? Tell the folks about the faithfulness of God. I mean, we are not our past, but I can tell you, we become stronger sometimes through it all. This is on the spot, but where you're going to be 18 tomorrow, you can do anything. I'll get you while you can do anything, right? Until you get like in your 30s, then you're not sure if you can do anything. So let's take it while we can get it. Tell the family what the faithfulness of God means to you.
Well, for me personally, God has always been faithful. Like, as I was growing up, like, I didn't really have much. I felt really broken, unloved, hurting. I don't know, but like, when I was 10 and then I just wanted something more, I came to church and like I found Jesus and I got completely changed. And even though like being saved at first, like it didn't change my circumstance, but he was always there and he was always faithful and he always provided everything I needed. I wanted a family because my family was kind of shattered and broken and like lost in their own issues, and like I got a family. Or like whenever I just like even wanted something small, like eventually it would come, like just with prayer and believing. And like, I don't know, God has just been so faithful in so many ways, whether it be needing a person to like pray for me or a person to give me advice, or just like, I don't know, an awesome church where I could like feel belonged and loved and all that. But he's always been faithful. Even when I didn't know what would happen tomorrow, like he was always there. So I don't know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Morgana has been staying with Kelsey and Minnie, and they've become like spiritual parents to you, and God really blessed you. You couldn't find a nicer couple on the planet than Kelsey and Minnie Waite, so we're very grateful. And as I told you this morning, when you do church right, the gates of hell have to back up. When you do church right, and we're not where we used to be, we're not now where we're going to be. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot more people like Morgana that need to know there's a church and there's a God that's greater than everything that comes against us. Would you let Morgana know one more time you love her? Really proud of you. Good job. We've been collecting these testimonies by video. We must have about 30 of them that are just locked away. And you heard from Derek and Shelley this morning. You've been hearing from Les Storman on social media. And next week we've got more of that for you. So next Sunday I'd encourage you to go ahead and get those t-shirts. I know it's a sin to wear a t-shirt to church, but Jesus said you're forgiven for the next 2 weeks. I have that authority to give to you. If you want to, you don't have to do it. But that stuff's available, and we'll talk again next week. We're going to talk about, today we talked about the church being the hand of God. Next week we'll talk about the power of God in the local church. So grateful for this church's desire not only to reach each other, not only to reach in the area, but to reach around the world. The Bible says God so loved the world. And if you're going to be flowing in the Spirit of God, you've got to have His heart, and His heart is for the globe. How many know there's a world outside of Maine? There's a reason we don't live out there. There's a reason we live here. And I love it here. But this is not the world. There's a big world out there, and there's a lot of people and a lot of different people that need to hear the gospel. But most definitely, we would, I think, all agree that it's orphans that really deserve to hear the gospel first. They just have almost no chance at life, no parents, and the Lord has connected this church because of Matt and Elisha Parker, with an orphanage in Haiti that is growing and doing dynamic things. Matt and Elisha, come on, join me if you would, please. I'll take that podium up on the platform. Welcome Matt and Elisha Parker as they come, if you would, please. You can do better than that. I know you can. How many trips have you guys taken to Haiti? You've lost count. Come on up here. It went dark here first. I don't know what happened back there, but fix it. It happens a lot in Haiti. We went dark. These guys, I just want you to know that these guys are the real deal. Actions. Somebody say actions. Speak louder than words. And these guys are the real deal. I told you this morning that in leadership there needs to be accountability because it needs to be real. And these guys are real. It's so real. Not only have they sacrificed to do missions, they've gone to the orphanage. They've adopted a couple children, heard those great miracles. And it's just their heartbeat to reach out to the hurting and to the lost, especially those there in Haiti. And I'm so grateful for you guys, honestly. You guys are a tremendous, tremendous benefit to this church. Just got back with their most recent team sometime yesterday in Portland. In Portland, or you got home? Home at midnight after being in super hot weather, not very restful beds, very hot, a lot of work, and so a lot of these folks just totally tuckered out. But not Matt and Elisha. They're from Charleston. That's what happens when you live in Charleston. You're tougher than the average person. You gotta be to live in Charleston. But I asked them if they'd take about 15 minutes apiece and share with you, because many of you, well, all of you don't even know it, but all of you, it somehow directly or indirectly helped support this trip to Haiti. Another fantastic. And I tell you, really you should pray about going with these guys next time. They're going to keep going, and not everybody has to go, not everybody's called to go, but you should pray about going because it does something to the church, right? Like it does something, when you meet people who have been there, it gets contagious, and it's so easy to get kind of self-centered, but we want to be other-centered, amen? Amen. So I want Matt and Elisha to come share with you, give us some highlights and what's going on in Haiti. One more time, let the Parkers know you love them.
I might share a few of my 15 minutes with my husband, but you know, between the both of us, we'll get about a half hour. When I began to think about what I wanted to say tonight, I began to think about when Christ walked on this earth and what he did. He walked in places where a lot of people didn't want to walk. He touched people that a lot of people didn't want to touch. He was moved with compassion. His heart broke for the broken. And he said, let the little children come to me. As I watched our team this week, I saw these things over and over. And when Pastor Ward was speaking about being God's hand, I saw that over and over again. It's not comfortable, these trips. It's not even comfortable sometimes to say yes to go, because this team, when we started talking about it about a year ago, people began to feel that call. And they took the first step, and they went to the meeting, and then they signed up. And then the trip would get closer. And, you know, people, we all have things we have to overcome. And I saw people overcome anxiety and fear. God does a work from the very beginning, and it's just amazing to see that. But I remember seeing our team in the orphanage, and one of the first days we were in, and there's kids all around, and Pastor Rico does a great job keeping the orphanage up and keeping it as clean as he can. But right now there's 62 kids in his home, which is now an orphanage. So, you know, these kids they're dirty and sometimes smelly, but I saw our team members, they would go around and pick these kids up, and they're like, "Ooh, that's a little wet." I'm like, "I'm sure it's water," but we all knew it wasn't, and they still loved on them. And you know what? That's God's hand. That's God's heart. And over again, as we walked out into the communities, and we went to this church in La Saline, and just outside the doors, we could see where they were making mud pies because a lot of them, that's all they would eat. And we went in that church, and it was small, and it was hot. We were packed in there, and we were able to feed them. And I saw our team members squeezing in on the seats, trying so they could help the little ones eat. And that was God's hands extended. And that was this church hands extended, because you couldn't go, but so many of you give to that. And you were reaching out and helping these kids in need. And that's what God has called all of us to do, to be a part in some way in God's hand extended. It's amazing to be a part of this church, because Pastor Ward and Darcy, their vision is great. Their vision is huge. It's not just this church. It goes to the community, and it goes to the world. And then to work under Pastor Rigo, he's another man of vision. We go out there every year we go. It's growing. He has churches. One of his churches is that he impacts is in La Saline. Then he has his huge church that seats, 7,000. And then he has other churches that seat 500 to 1,000. And when I was thinking about it, those churches are a light. And where the light is, that darkness can't come in. And the voodoo is getting pushed further and further back, because we are impacting, and God's power is overcoming and breaking chains. And it's just amazing to see, and it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And it's just an amazing thing to be a part of. And I thank you so much for all the things that seemed little that you gave, because it truly impacted. When we handed out 100 bags, care bags, they included rice, beans, things we take for granted like toothbrushes and toothpaste, and just a bunch of like hygiene stuff, soap, and things that we truly take for granted. And we also were able to put Bibles in all of these bags. And I told the pastor when he told his people that we were handing out these bags, I said, Pastor, these also have Bibles in them. And he told the people, and like they were so excited. We don't know what that's like to not have a Bible. So that will just keep on giving. And as we pass them out, I just prayed, God, just keep that fire inside of them, and continue to provide for them. And it was such a blessing to be there. And I'm going to give the mic to Matt, because he has more he wants to share with you. But again, thank you so much. What we've done there will keep growing. So thank you.
She's a hard act to follow, and she's a good kisser, Pastor. I know that helps in a marriage. Heard that from the pulpit, actually. I don't think there's a lot of our team here tonight, because it is literally exhausting after a week of this. But anybody that's here that's went with us this week, can you stand up so they can see who you are? The scattered few. We took 13 people with us from the church, including Elisha and I, and we got a lot of stuff done. I want to start by greeting you from Pastor Rigo. He's a very solid man of God with big vision. I greet you from the church in La Saline, the church in Jerusalem, and from the orphanage. The people there are doing amazing things. I'm going to share with you a little bit of detail, and I just briefly want to talk to you tonight about being blessed, highly favored, and helping people win. It's common to not have a home in Haiti. The homeless are everywhere. The orphans are everywhere. There are people all over the street. When I say millions, I mean millions. Many of you have seen an anthill, right? And everywhere you look, there's ants scurrying in and out of the hill. That's Port-au-Prince. They're everywhere. You can't move a square inch without bumping into someone else. It's just that busy. You're driving down the street and people are running back and forth between the cars. There's dozens of people packed into vehicles. Our team will tell you, if you have the chance to talk to them, it's amazing how many people you can fit in a vehicle. It really is. I shouldn't say this, but we traveled in many of you know what a Toyota Tacoma pickup is? That's a small pickup, not a full size. Crew cab, 4.5-foot bed. We fit 16 people in that truck. Standard shift, mind you. 7 in the cab, Cheryl riding the stick. Thank you, Cheryl. And 9 in a 4.5-foot bed. I was one of them. You can imagine how tight the rest were. Anybody know Cody Crooker? About 6.5 feet tall. Cody rode the whole trip sitting on the bed with his feet out over the tailgate on the bumper. Fetal position for 4 hours. Let's just say they suffered for Jesus. You can picture riding down the road. I think there was 4 of the women of the group that stood to be a human headboard in 100-degree weather. As they sweat and it blows back on you. It's amazing. So fulfilling. But that's just the way it is in Haiti. But it's common to be homeless. It's common to be packed in. It's common to be an orphan. There's so much going on. And I say that all to tell you, if you'll say this with me, my house is blessed. My house is blessed. We take for granted everything that goes on around us. It is so hard to be a Haitian and to be in these third world. And in Haiti, they actually consider it a fifth world country. Our house is truly blessed. I can tell you this, men often use women. Women allow themselves to be used to have an income, to have a house, to have temporary sanctuary, to get off the street for a moment. Boys often join gangs to get off the street and to have some sort of connection to someone. Girls at the age of 12 and up, they say, most will have to prostitute or die of starvation. It's a very hard life in Haiti. There's orphans everywhere. There was one little boy named Michael that Pastor Rigo has in his orphanage. They were in La Saline ministering, and they heard a whimper in a dumpster. And as they got closer, they decided they didn't know what the sound was, so they investigated. And they found baby Michael, a newborn, in the bottom of the dumpster, barely alive. That's life in Haiti. That's what it's like to be a Haitian, where you can imagine this, okay, figure this out, it doesn't take long. Men use women. Women create babies. Babies ruin your business, so you throw them away. It happens over and over. And that's why there's so much devastation. It's a spiritual problem that's just creating more and more issues inside of poverty. So it's very hard. But little Michael ended up taking him out of the dumpster, barely alive. They rushed him to the hospital with obviously no money to save him, but they do it anyway. And Michael is now Pastor Rigo's own son. Of all the orphans in the orphanage, they felt a connection to this little boy, and they adopted Michael. He now is in the orphanage as Pastor Rigo's son, lives with him, and lives a pretty good life for a Haitian. So say this with me. My family is blessed. My house is blessed. My family is blessed. Healthcare doesn't exist in Haiti. We all pretty much can go somewhere and get some sort of health care, emergency care, some sort of state aid. I have health insurance through my work. We all have something, yet we complain about what it costs. We complain about how inconvenient it is to wait to see a specialist. We complain about everything that happens. In Haiti, they just die. They don't complain about who they're seeing or what they're getting for medicine. They just die. It's that simple. Say this with me. My health is blessed. We are so blessed in our health here. The average Haitian is unemployed. Those that do work make around $10 to $50 a week, per week. To couple this problem of poverty, because Haiti is an island and not much is made there, everything gets shipped in, so it costs double what it should. So you're making nothing, everything costs double, and starvation is just everywhere because of it. Say this with me. My wealth is blessed. That song will never mean as much to you as it will when we're done tonight. So my house is blessed, my family is blessed, my health is blessed, my wealth is blessed. Churches struggle constantly in Haiti. There's churches everywhere. And like us, they have good intentions, but they don't have any finances. They don't have, well-paid people in their churches that are tithing their 10% and giving out a sacrificial giving, because they're all like the widow who gave her mite. There's no person that can look at the widow and say, well, she didn't give much, because they're all in the same position. So you can imagine no food pantries, no women of promise, no men of faith, no youth groups, no Aubrey ministry, all these things that impact our life. For the Haitians, they're just waiting for the next missions team to come in and help them out, because day-to-day life is so hard. And to that I say, and you say with me, my church is blessed. Everywhere in the city, trash is on fire. If anybody's on Facebook, you'll start to see some pictures trickling through. I saw one that Cody took showing a riverbank that literally is all trash. It's trash. Down the bank, in the river, the water runs around it. The pigs love it. I mean, if you're a pig in Haiti, the pigs are blessed. That's a new line you got to add to that song, okay? And highly flavored of the Lord. Just saying. I can tell you at dinner time when we would have goat. Anybody ever had goat? Everyone who won the trip will say they had goat. I think it was Kathy that often said, I picture a beautiful place where our goats eat, not trash. She didn't want to believe she was eating trashy goat, but she was. It was happening. But everywhere in the city, it's trash. In the streams, in the ditches. The ditches, if you look into them, and the trenches they try to make, they're overflowing with trash. So the ditches overflow. The ditches aren't only just rainwater, but sewage. There's no infrastructure for sewage. When the trash gets too overbearing, they push it in piles and they light it on fire. And everywhere you go, you're breathing in this lovely trash soot. It's amazing. I'm not a smoker. I can tell you that with full integrity. I'm not a smoker. But they think the trucks we ride in that they put 30, 40, 50 people to a time in, they call them tap-taps. I told our group this week, when I go to Haiti, I pick up a 3-pack a day of tap-tap smoking habit, because you literally breathe exhaust fumes all day. I mean, I try to sing in Haiti and it sounds really bad because this just shuts everything off. But I can tell you there's trash, there's sewage, there's children wandering around the street. People fight to find a life and they don't find any. Can you say with me, in the big city of Charleston, my city is blessed? Our city is blessed. The people are in dire need. Every place they go, the government steals from them. The government basically builds itself up. The previous government spent most of its time in Cuba on vacation. Sounds a lot like our previous president. Just saying. Don't want to put that on live stream. Strike that one. Too late. But their government takes advantage of them. The few rich people that are there that own the infrastructure of the island, like the electrical companies and all that, they overtax the poor people who have nothing to give back to the rich, to keep getting put back in power. So it's a really bad cycle. And as bad as I hate to say it, can you say my nation and my government is blessed? Because it could be so much worse to be a Haitian. The leading religion is voodoo. They basically kill animals. They sacrifice animals. I've heard, doing a little bit of research myself, just because I wanted to understand it, I read of a thing they do where they put a straw in a live cow's main vein in its neck, and they drink the blood out of the cow while it's alive. I mean, there's some wacky dudes. It's crazy. We met personally a little girl, and I'm going to leave her name out because she's in the process of being adopted, but we met a little girl when we were in Haiti, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was, I think Kimberly and Whitney were still there. We were visiting them. And Pastor Rigo begins to tell us about these wounds that we saw on her, a slit in her stomach, and what were very apparent to be bite marks on her arms. So the voodoo priest in the area where Pastor Rigo is were told by Satan to find a little white girl and to kill her and eat her. This is voodoo. This is one of the leading religions in Haiti. So they go to the border and they find the whitest little child, baby child they can in the Dominican, smuggle her across, slit her stomach open, bite chunks out of her arms. As they're doing their thing, the devil says, sorry, she's Dominican, she's not white. We reject this sacrifice. And this little girl gets left on the street to be found and dropped at Pastor Rigo's orphanage, where she is now alive, healthy. She is part of a group of little kids that, as Americans, when you're trying to sleep at 5 in the morning, their ritual is to get up and sing praise every morning at 5 o'clock. I've woke up to worse things. But she's gone from being part of a potential sacrifice to part of an orphanage that is inundated with the gospel. These kids don't miss out. They praise at 5 in the morning. They go to the Christian school that Pastor Rigo oversees. They pray all the time. They sing all the time. It's just constant from morning to night. They're inundated with the gospel. And I don't know about every team that goes there, but I can tell you for our team, that's what it's about for us too. We don't go just to do just good deeds, but we want to touch their spirit. So you can imagine when voodoo is one of the main things that's going on that's creating all this havoc, including what happened to this poor little girl, it's pretty easy for us to say, my God is blessed. So that song just unfolded to me that way this morning as Paul and Heather sang it. That's just how it unfolded to me. And I wanted to share a little bit of the lifestyle in Haiti wrapped around that song. So not only are we blessed, but in this church we're highly favored. I'm going to read you just a few things that we did this week. We put $6,000 towards what they call their chicken project. So when you're starving and you're only getting a certain amount of donations time to time, it's nice to have something consistent. So one of the ideas that one of the teams brought to Pastor Rigo was a chicken farm. Chickens lay eggs, and they're made of chicken. So it's like, you know, food either way. I mean, there's no bacon on there, Darcy, but you can wrap chicken in bacon. It tastes pretty good. So you can imagine that this is a sustainable thing for them. Not only their protein in the eggs, but also in the meat. Right now they have 250 birds. While we were there working, and they say when people are around, the chickens are less productive. I'm sure it's the same way for us. Just saying. Too much? No? Okay. But the chickens, while we were there, working and tossing buckets and making a bunch of noise and being erratic, I counted at the end of our few hours there each day, typically 60 to 70 eggs. So Elisha was saying 62 kids. That's at least one egg per kid, just in the time we were there. So you can see how this is a cool thing. So our $6,000 is going towards expanding the chicken project, adding more area, because obviously you can't just leave them in the sun in Haiti. You would have an awful lot of KFC sitting there when you came back. So to create cover, to create the automatic watering that they have, the automatic, the pans that catch the eggs, there's just a lot that goes into it. So this money will go into adding to the space they can have to go towards a goal of 2,500 chickens. So we also worked on facing the building. Everything has to be cement walled around it because everyone's starving. You can imagine you don't want people in the chicken coop while you're not there. It would be like a buffet, and that's not good. But what we did is going towards facing it. They're going to paint it and put up signs that talk about selling eggs. So as they break past what they need in the orphanage, he'll then start selling the eggs to create a cash flow. So it's really something cool. I mean, we can raise money and help them every month, but to help them become self-sustained, then that money can go to other projects. So we want to not only just throw your money like a Band-Aid over the situation, but help to build the Haitians up to be self-sustained and self-built up. The money that went into that came from the Soul Fire youth group. And a lot of these things, and Elisha and I have been talking about this, we want to get a little better structure to some of the things we do, but it was just very organic what they did. And I think 2,000, 2,500, if I remember right, came from that fundraiser for the Mountains for Haiti. The Elevate group, again, just kind of organically because a lot of our team was in their age group. I think that was around $2,000 as well. That came from just maybe 8 weeks of offerings. The people really took to their group going and gave. So just a couple things that just kind of organically happened. The team reaching out and raising money. Some additional funds we had from the trip because it was a little less than we thought, which never happens, but thankfully it was. All went to putting $6,000 towards that, and then the rest went to other projects we did. While we were there, we bought and distributed 1,000 pounds of rice and beans. So 13 people managed all this rice and beans, mostly me and Cody and Alexis because she's a beast. She reminded me how short I was all week. It's humiliating. When I had to stand next to her in the bucket line, I was under her armpits. It's a bad place to be. Bad place to be. But I have the microphone now. She really likes these things she calls beef sticks. I don't know why anybody would want processed meat that's probably like beaks and pig snouts, but she loves them. So her new nickname, if you should meet Alexis on the street at the school where she works, is Beef Stick. Just remember that, Beef Stick. But we put 1,000 pounds of rice and beans into the pantry and into the care packages that Elisha talked about. They were in 50 to 70 pound bags when we picked them up to carry, so you can imagine that was a little bit of work at 100 degrees in direct sunlight. Some went to the pantry at the orphanage Wayom Timon, some in the care packages that went to what Pastor Rigo calls Bethlehem Church in a new region called Jerusalem. He loves that it's Bethlehem Church in Jerusalem, Haiti. But that's where we were, so if anybody asked, I spent the week in Jerusalem. It was wonderful. We also distributed 1,350 pounds of goods from Maine. So you can imagine a 13-person team with 27 bags at 50 pounds each. The last two, or the accumulation was so overweight that the last two, they snuck through at about 70 pounds each. It was actually a little bit more than that, closer to 1,400 pounds. Like Elisha said, in those was peanut butter, diapers, formula, tuna fish, stuff that Nick Day got donated from his work. The people gathered from their friends and family. I mean, it was just full of stuff. New baby clothes, toys. I saw a lot of new underwear, which, as you can imagine in Haiti, there's nothing new. So these little kids, like they said with the coats this morning, it's nice to get something new once in a while. You can imagine, I called it Black Friday. I don't know how good that was to say in Haiti, but that's what I said. It was Black Friday, because when we opened the suitcases, it was like all these women that you see go to the malls, and they were like, wow, wow, punching each other. I mean, it was rough. It's hard to watch as Americans, but we basically leave it to this. That's a starvation, poverty mentality. I mean, you're going to fight tooth and nail to get what you need to survive. It's not to get by or get that coach you've been watching on the specials for 2 weeks of Black Friday advertising. It's literally their need. And it's hard to see that happen, but it just gives you a great glimpse of just how desperate they are. We did 3 feedings, the first one in La Saline, which Elisha talked about a little bit. That's where they make the dirt cookies. The dirt cookies do absolutely nothing for you. There's like dirt and butter and salt in them. There's really not much there, but to give you dirty, high cholesterol. That's all you get out of it. But their sensation on this is, if you're going to die of starvation, you shouldn't also have hunger pains. I know that's really hard to take, but you can imagine if you're already dying of malnutrition and hunger pains is just one more thing to think about. The dirt cookies fill their stomach. That's all they do. We loved on the orphans, hundreds of them. We were able to tip the staff at the orphanage. Depending on what they did, we were able to tip them between $50 and $150. Most of that came from our team's donations that they just wanted to bless those that helped us. So they've already gathered about $1,600 each for the trip, plus other costs, and they just continued to give and blow us away, for sure. I get to speak twice in churches, once in Jerusalem and once in Pastor Rigo's church. We helped pour a 90-foot section of the balcony. The balcony is almost done now. $10,000 will complete it. With the balcony, his church will seat 7,000 Haitians. His main sanctuary he uses now already seats 3,000. He'll be able to fit between 4,000 and 5,000 in the balcony. It's crazy to see. Many of you have been to foreign countries and missions trips. Most churches look like they'd fit 30 or 40. In Haiti, they call that a 500-person church. You want to talk about up close and personal, I think this is about 10,000 they'd fit in here, as Pastor Rigo calls it, in Haitian style. That means, and again, I hate to say it to you, most Haitians are skinnier than most of us, so that helps a lot. We'd say they pack them in like cordwood, but. So I say this all to tell you that we are a highly favored church. And as your missions directors, when we go and do these things to put $10,000 to the ground to work in Haiti, to put 1,000 pounds of rice and beans, 1,350 pounds of hard assets that we carried down with us, all these things don't happen from just us. It happens because we come from a blessed and highly favored church that continues to give to our vision. And we thank you guys. So give yourselves a round of applause for that, for sure. The last thing I want to talk to you about is one of my favorite parts of short-term missions. I love to help the people, but it's always nice when you have a kind of two-part ministry. I would do it for just what we do in Haiti, for just the lost in Haiti, for just the starving in Haiti, for just the orphans in Haiti. But I get two congregations when I go on these trips. I get the people we're ministering to, and I get the team for a week. I love ministering to my teams. I can tell you, including Elisha and I, 13 people came home different. I look at Hannah in the back, and she's wicked quiet when she's around me. I don't know. She says I talk too much. Maybe that's what it is. But I think she's a senior this year at Highview. To be able to experience this at her age, to take on what she saw, to hold the babies, to feed the orphans, to hand out the food. If you go on a trip like this with an open heart and an open mind to what God wants to do with you, it will change you. I like to also fill the week with devotions, because we don't want to go there just to pour out of ourselves, but I feel like to keep my team on edge and keep them doing what they need to do and keep them sharp, I want to feed them too. So in closing, I'm going to share quick 3 points I shared with them. The first one is, no one's calling is unimportant. So many times the devil will say, well, don't go on a short-term mission trip, or don't help in the choir. Your voice isn't quite as good as the person you're standing next to, or don't help and elevate. Don't help in this ministry. You know, the last thing you cooked, you burnt. I wouldn't sign up to help in the cafe. You know, I mean, whatever. I didn't mean you, honey. I didn't mean you. She thinks I'm a god. She brings me burnt offerings. It's amazing. Not really. She's an amazing cook. I tease. And she's a good kisser. But there's no one's calling that is unimportant. Maybe you're sitting here tonight and you felt that way, that my calling is insignificant. My calling is unimportant. Being a Sunday school teacher is nothing. I don't know why I do it. I'm not doing really anything significant. But I'm here to tell you tonight the same thing I told my team the first night of our devotions. No one's calling is unimportant. If you can find the thing that God set you to do, we all have souls in the balance of our ministry. If you sit here and expect Pastor Ward and Darcy and Paul and Heather and Vinny and Tiana, all these people, Brian and Kelly, to reach out and touch every life around you, they're going to fall short because they don't have your influence. They don't have your calling. I can tell you there's people that pray over me that their calling is a prayer warrior. I listened to Kathy Dunphy pray for people this week, full of the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues over them. I've taken Helen Nealon, I don't know how many times, 70 plus years old on these trips. She's a beast. And our bucket lines, she wouldn't quit till she passed out cold when we had to pick her up. I mean, her calling is to be a leader, and to hear her testify the way that she does. You've all heard her do it here. And then hear a second interpretation into the language that she's speaking to. I mean, it's just something I don't have the gift for. But when she comes with us, she has that gift and she puts it to work. When Kathy prayed for people, I heard the power in the spiritual, I don't want to call it, but like she's had a lot of experience in the church, and she brought it to the plate for us a lot of times. Even when she was uncomfortable, I appreciated it, every part of it. The second thing I told my people is on the second night, there is no weapon formed against you from your current situation or your past failure that can prosper against you. Not only does the devil want to make you feel incapable of doing something or low on the totem pole in your ministry and your calling, but he wants to tell you what you're currently in for a situation you can't step out of to minister, and what you did in the past is going to keep you from ministering. But I want to tell you, when I read that scripture, I like to read it that way. There is no weapon formed of my current situation or my past failures that can stand against me, that can be formed against me. They won't stand against you. So know this, that your calling is not a small calling. Your calling is not unimportant. There's no weapon formed of anything in your life that can keep you from your calling. And the last thing I shared with them is from Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. He wants to tell you you're insignificant. He wants to tell you that the odds are stacked against you and build weapons of your past. And he wants to take your vision so the people perish. I'm here to tell you this. I like to flip that scripture over and say, where there is a vision, the people will not perish. Or I wrote this as a paraphrase tonight. Where there is a vision, the people will win. We help people win in this church, and we help people win in Haiti. We help people win in so many countries through the ministries we support that we don't even ever see. It's a pleasure to see Haiti, but I'm telling you, when you have a vision, the people will not perish. The people will win. So you need to get a new vision this year. It's crazy how fast the years go by. But we need to get a vision and a focus, and I'm praying for it over myself, that as a missions director, as a person who travels a lot, I've spent my whole life with a vision to become a full-time missionary. It's been a while since I took my first trip, but God said, in the meantime, work on your finances. Whatever the first step is God gave to you. And it's so hard to talk about finances because people think you're bragging, but I took God seriously at 18 years old when I first got married and went to Mexico, was called to be a missionary. He called me to adopt on that first trip. I knew it was going to happen eventually. He said, be ready because it's coming. And I said, God, I will. And I took every penny that he gave me and I tried to use it to my best. I tried not to overspend. I tried not to buy stupid things. I tried to make good decisions. And I tell you, with a year off for a bad shoulder, almost $60,000 adoption, at 35 years old, because we listened to God in every part of our life, we were debt-free. It's an amazing feeling. And I hate to say it out loud because people just look at you like, oh. But I only tell you because he helps people win. When you'll listen to him, he'll help you win. Watch so many people in ministry, or people who should be in ministry, struggle because of financial choices. Let God guide you, and he'll help you win in those situations. Let God guide you in your devotions, and he'll help you win in those situations. I want to read you one thing in closing. We had no internet all week, which only because I get paid for sales that I make was a little rough for me, but it was also kind of refreshing. When we finally got our last day, we take a break, we go to the beach, and we just relax and detox because it's a lot of work. But the first thing I opened up was a text from my kids, and I'm probably going to embarrass her a little bit. But I want to read you the first thing I read after a week of being in ministry from my daughter Cassidy. The first text I read. It says, "Hi Dad, I heard that you preached at a couple churches. That is awesome. I'm so thankful that I have parents that are obedient to God's still small voice and are following their calling. I hope very soon I'll be able to help you and God to expand the kingdom and help people." And I add to that, win. If you get your focus on God, if you get your focus on your calling that's not significant, that has no weapon that can form against it, and you get a vision, you'll not only reach the people God put in your life kind of at a distance, your calling, but those closest to you will see what you're doing. They'll grab a hold of it and they'll win. I can tell you right now that as much as I want to reach the world for the gospel, to see some mission trips we've been on with Bill Parks, you see 10,000 people give their heart to the Lord. But if I lose my kids in the process, it's nothing. But when you get your focus on God, you realize that you are significant. You are favored. There isn't a weapon that's formed against you. You're going to fulfill your calling, and your children will not depart from what you taught them. So I tell you tonight, as a proud missions director, a proud team leader, a proud husband, a proud dad, do what God called you. Don't be afraid of the weapons the devil can form against you. Build a vision, and we will win.